now that we have our core gameplay, next we need to make the stuff that makes it more fun, more interactable. So far in my game, I have added 3 different types of robots. I've got a gray robot, a green robot, and a red robot. I think for my game, I'm going to make it so that my gray robots are not breakable at all. They're going to be like solid bricks. Maybe they're armored or something. And I feel like gray is just something that makes says to the visually just says, this is unbreakable. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I feel. My green robots I think are going to be breakable, and I'm going to set up a code that I can use on all of my robots at the same time, but I'm going to use a piece of code that will let me check whether or not it is breakable. And you might guess by the way that I phrased that is breakable is a bool phrase that I can use to kind of make it so that my blocks, my robots, will have a checkbox on them. And on that checkbox, I can check whether or not they are breakable. What I need to do is figure out how I'm going to do that. So I need a script for my blocks, my robots. You might notice that you already have quite a few scripts in here, and as we get more and more complex, you're going to have I'm going to call it robot. You're going to have more and more scripts as we go on in this course. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply these in a different way. Instead of dragging and dropping, I'm going to click on each of the robots that I'm going to add it to, scroll down to Add Component, and I'm just going to type in robot, and it will automatically find that script to add it. So if I go, it actually saves the last thing you searched on Add Component, so I'm just hitting Enter as I add component. Now robot is added to all of my scripts. So if you have multiple different types of blocks, I would name your block maybe block instead of robot. Mine just happens to be robots for my game. But, whatever works. Your names don't have to match my names. And let's open it up in Visual Studio. All right, so first thing is first, since we already know we need to set up a Boolean phrase that we can check whether or not it is true or not, let's serialize a field. And it is of type bool, and we're going to call it is breakable. And go ahead and set it equal to false, because I don't want the default to be that everything is breakable. I want the default to be that it is not breakable. So let's just, I know it's warning me I've never used it. That's fine. I'm going to save it and go back into Unity and see what this looks like in my robots. Let it load. It's warning me that it's assigned but never used. That's okay. We'll fix that. So I'm clicking on my red robot, scrolling down to my script, and I've got an is breakable, and there's checkbox. It's a lot like the is trigger that we use on our colliders. And that you can check on or off based on what one it is. I think my red robot, so in my game, what I'm visualizing, so you know what I'm up to, is that my green robots will be breakable, my gray robots will not be breakable. My red robots, I have not decided yet. I know they're going to be moving. I want my red robots to be the blocks that are going to scroll back and forth to kind of create like a moving barrier. And I think maybe they'll be breakable, but maybe they'll have a very high health. So for right now, let's say, yeah, they're breakable. And notice again, I'm doing this down here in my project folder. I'm not doing it up with what's on my scene. Obviously, I don't have any red robots up there right now, so that's fine. Green robot, yes, we know that's going to be breakable. And my gray robot is not breakable. So if I were to go up here and look at my gray robots, they are not breakable. If I look at, oh, that's not the right one. Let's see, green robots. If I look at my green robots, they are breakable. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. And So on, let's see, our script, we need to come down here. We need to do something so that whenever anything collides with a block, that makes it break if it is breakable. So the way I just phrased that should give you some tips that is basically our code that we've been using for the last couple of videos, which is on collision enter 2D. We're going to use that, and we're going to put an if statement inside of it this time to use our Boolean phrase that we have created. So I don't need my start or my update right now. Make sure you don't accidentally delete your curly bracers for your whole project, just the ones for start and update. Let's make a private void on collision. It'd be really cool if you guys are actually like typing this while I'm doing it, or before I'm doing it. That is excellent. That's what I want you to kind of anticipate what I'm doing. So we need an if statement. So we want if is breakable is equal to true, meaning if we have checked the box that it is breakable, we want to do something. And in this case, it's pretty simple. What we want to do is we want to destroy ourselves. So we use the phrase destroy and then game object, which just basically says the game object that this is linked to, destroy it. So let's save that and see if it works. So Unity. And give it a second to think about its life. Okay, so, oops, I accidentally went to the next level, but that's okay. Those are not breakable. That's great. Let's see if the green ones are breakable. I tried to leave my sound on so you could hear the, yep, we broke it. Okay, so the gray ones are not breakable. The green ones are breakable. That's exactly what we want. So another fun thing that I would like to do is go ahead and add in make it so that our game has some cool visual effects. Whenever we run into these blocks that are breakable, we want to make a thing appear that makes it look cool. For particles, we could make our own, obviously. I did start to do that in my project, but then I decided that I think that is something that we'll save for later. Instead, let's use some that have already been made and talk about finding stuff like that. So obviously our favorite asset resource, Kenny, has a particle pack. So if you go to the assets and you search for particles, this will pop up. And if you download it, it says there are 80 sprites for particle, light, cookies, and shaders, which is stuff you probably don't understand. It's basically all these designs right here that you can use. It also includes a Unity package with particle effect samples, fire, smoke, magic, hearts, sparks, and electricity. So it looks like this. And I kind of like these two in particular for my explosion. So I'm going to try and import those into my game. So I have downloaded it, obviously, already into my game, or into my computer. Just need to locate them. So give me just a second. Particles. Okay. So I'm going to, instead of going through the process where I click and drag, I'm going to use a different system. So whenever you save this file to your hard drive, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to go into Unity, go up to Assets, and Import Package, Custom Package, and then locate where you have that file. So let me try and figure that out for myself real quick. Okay, so once you find it, it will come up with this import right here. Don't uncheck anything, just import it all. That's fine. I'm going to move Kenny into my stock folder. Particle samples. prefabs. Let's try electricity. Let's just drag that into our scene and see what that looks like. That's pretty cool. What does sparks look like? I think that one's maybe a little bit much. I think I like the electricity as my particle effect. So let's go ahead and see how we can make that appear on our screen whenever we hit the block. So in our robot script, right now we're saying if it's breakable, destroy the game object, and that's great. But let's do this whole, let's take this destroy game object and let's make a method out of it, because whenever we destroy our block, we want to do a bunch of things. Eventually, we're going to have on there destroying the object. We're going to have on there add visual effects. We're going to have on there play a sound, or might even have like add to the score. So let's go ahead while we're here and just make a new method. So let's call this method destroy block. And then obviously it's going to have an error because we don't have a method yet. So private void destroy block, and then curly brackets. So now we have a method for destroying our game object. And that was just what was up above. I didn't copy and paste it. I just retyped it. So that was up above. So whenever we destroy our game object, we also want to do something else, right? We want to instantiate, create those sparkles. So we need to, first we need to get a reference to the sparkles. We need to be able to drag them into our inspector. So let's say, let's call the serialized field, it is of type game object, I believe. And we want this to be electricity VFX. It's the visual effects of electricity. And it's green right now because I'm not using it anywhere else. And that's fine because I'm about to use it down here. So we are going to, above destroy, because we want to do this before the object goes away, let's make the game object electricity. Nope. Apparently not. Yes, game object, electricity, we'll call it electricity. Set it equal to instantiate, meaning we will create a thing, electricity VFX. It wants our location next, so we're just going to use transform dot position and transform dot rotation. I don't know how well this will work because I haven't pre-tested this yet, but let's see. See if we get any errors. So, nope. Oh, it's not been assigned. Obviously, that will not work if we have not actually assigned the electricity. So let's go to all of our robots that need this assigned to them and drag in our electricity prefab. Gray robot needs it. And our red robot needs it. Alright. Let's try that again. And now it is there. It was playing on a loop, so let's go to our electricity prefab. And we don't want it to loop. We just want it to play once, and let's delete this extra one out of our hierarchy because we don't need that one anymore. So, let's see if I can play this long enough. It's hard to double check that it's long enough. So let's maybe take our electricity, and the duration is 5 seconds right now. Let's set that to 1. Maybe I should make this game easier for myself so it's easier to test. It's probably smart, wouldn't it be? Yep, it ended before the end. Perfect. That's what we wanted. So now we've made it so that whenever we destroy our block, we also create a visual effect. So the next step, I think, is just to give it a little bit of sound to make it that's like a real final moment. And I've actually already added the sound from my stock that I'm going to use for this. So we're going to do this pretty similarly to how we did the ball. So if we look at the ball script right here, we got access to our audio right down here. It has started get component audio source, and then we played it, which would work technically, but here's the problem that we will run into. If we do it this way and we destroy a block, as soon as we destroy it, that component is also destroyed, so the sound will stop playing, and that's not what we want. So we have to do it just a little bit differently in this one. So let us, on our block, we're going to add another serialized field. This one is going to be an audio clip, and we're going to call this explosion SFX. So it's a sound effect. So the place I think that makes the most sense to put the explosion is down here with just our destroying our block method. And so down here, I'm going to do a code that will look familiar, but slightly different. So we're going to use audio source, which we are used to, dot, and then we're going to say play clip at point. Now you can see the tooltip here says that it's looking for an audio clip and a position. It plays an audio clip at a given position in the world space. So play clip at point. The clip we want to play the explosion sound effects. We want to play them not at the block, right? We want to play them somewhere on something that we know will always be in the scene, and perfectly positioned for that is the camera. The camera is always in every scene, so we know that we can always grab the camera and the camera's location and go ahead and play it from that location. So it's audio source, play clip at point, explosion sound effects, camera, dot main, dot transform, dot position, which is a lot of dots, but I'm sure you will figure it out. Let's save this and go back into Unity. Now, on our robots, once it finishes loading all of my script, all of them should have on here an explosion sound effect. So we're just going to grab our audio clip that we want to use for that and put it in there. So we have to do this for all of our robots. Don't forget to do all of your blocks. Okay, and let's see. Perfect. They used the sounds. They made the sounds. The sounds didn't stop after the block died, and we are ready to move on. I think next we will cover making it so that our robots or in your case blocks, I don't know what you have. My robots, I'm going to make it so my red robots scroll back and forth across the screen, kind of patrolling for your escaping cog wheel, and that's where we're going from there.